So, lads, we're back again. Another week is upon us. What have you been up to? What's been keeping you busy in the world of Sorare this week?
For me, it's Stishy boy. It's been a mad one because I've been trying to kind of chop around and do some trades and whatever, and try and get some more of these Celtic cards in before the season draws upon us. I feel like, and it's been quite difficult. The market's actually the market's pretty vibrant now. There's a lot of people doing trades, and if you're in Discord or you list a bunch of cards, rares, super rares, all sorts of scarcities. There's definitely a lot of activity in the market at the moment. But it's been taking up a lot of my time, a lot of my brain space, because quite simply, like, there's so many moving pieces on valuation at the moment. Especially when it comes to more expensive cards. People are looking at historic pricing as well as like comparative cards in the market. Or when you're dealing with different scarcities, people are maybe going down a scarcity and using a multiplier to try and gauge it and all the rest of it. So negotiations over the last week have been much more actually text heavy. A lot more words are going into stuff now than they used to. But yeah, that's been pretty much all for me. Not much SO5 action with International Week.
No, likewise. It is that time in it where you're trying to like figure out who's going to be starting where next season, trying to plug gaps in the gallery, trying to trim the fat. I definitely need to trim the fat a fair bit. What about you, Tony? Have you been dabbling much in the marketplace?
Actually, I was just doing there. It's a difficult one because my gallery's nearly done, and because Europe's not back in for a couple of months, I'll just be wheeling and dealing. So I'm trying to tell myself stay away unless something really good comes up. But to be fair, my gallery's not going to really change value over the next few weeks because the Nations League's are nearly done, and I've got my team sorted. It's just I'm hoping that a couple of moves happen and a couple of lads, like we spoke about your Thorgan Hazards. I bought one of him yesterday. Nice. Because I want him to move to an Ajax or a PSV, and that's a gamble I'm taking. I'm in a settled enough position where I had a small tiny bit of ETH left. I could maybe gamble. I'm hoping the lad Matoma for Union that's going back to Brighton.
Yep.
I'm hoping that he's a bit of noise outside. I'm hoping that I'm hoping that he's the main man for Japan in the World Cup. He's only played 4 times, scored 3. So I'm hoping that he kind of pushes his way out of Brighton if he's not going to start every week.
Yeah.
But again, if he starts at Brighton, he could be a main man because they're a good team.
Yeah. I think Mitoma, he's a difficult one, isn't he? Because if he does stay at Brighton, I could see him getting some game time there. But the sort of football Brighton have been playing the last couple of seasons as well. Like, now he's very good with the ball at his feet. He's quite a creative, like just off the sort of front two in those pockets. He looks at a player who likes to get on the ball, and I think that would suit the way that Brighton like to play. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do keep him there. But like you said, he's got the World Cup coming. He's going to want to play. And if he could push through a move, I think he'd probably want one, right? Like, from a footballer's perspective, if you was Mitoma, what do you think you'd want to do?
I always think you play under a good manager on loan. You go back to your parent club, he goes to a bigger club. It's natural just to go straight with him. And he's now at Anderlecht. Why not go to Anderlecht and play every week? I don't think that would be the worst one, but that's maybe a selfish point of view, hoping that he goes there. But Brighton, he goes and plays at one good season at Brighton, scores 10 goals, gets 5 assists, he moves.
Yeah.
He moves, especially with the whole of Japan behind him, the marketing in the game now. Who's to say that a Man U or a Chelsea, or probably mostly Man U, maybe even Man City, don't try and dip into that market? Because Man City have got a lot of Japanese lads in their academy, have they not?
Yeah, they have had a few, you're right.
They've got the boy that Celtic are linked with, haven't they?
Yeah,
they had the boy that was at Hearts. Can't remember his name. I remember he was a technically really good player. Hearts were quite hard in the league at the time. They've had quite a few lads for Japan. I don't know if they've got a partnership. I know they've got the City Group. I actually know that Ange Postecoglou was part of the City Group, so maybe that team.
Yokohama. Man City own 20% of them. Aye, Man City own 20% of them.
So, who knows? Maybe they're trying to get into that market. I don't know. But it'd be easy enough for him if he goes and scores 10 goals, gets 5 assists, which he's capable of doing. He's shown he could possibly end up at a team like you dream, don't you? You think to yourself, have a good 6 months, 12 months. You'll have seen it now. Players that you'd have picked up for cheap go and end up become like your Castellanos, your is it Enzo? Who's the boy that's going to? Is it Julian Alvarez going to Man City?
Enzo, Julian Alvarez.
Who'd have believed these boys were going to go to these big teams?
Yeah. I think if I don't know for Mitoma, for me, like I think if he can get another year at Union would be good because they're in Europe next year. He's settled in. He's a main man there. He'll play a lot. And if you are thinking about the World Cup warm up, you want minutes, you want reps, you know, and going to better, fair enough, at a better level. But if you're then going to be on the bench or not featured, then your World Cup's not going to happen.
But that's why I'm hoping maybe an Anderlecht because he's played at a team that finished above Anderlecht. They'll have a rebuild. They've got the same manager who knows what he can do.
Oh, of course,
it's probably like that because Union might not be as good next year.
Yeah.
Because you know what happens. Sometimes you lose the league. In the playoffs, supposedly they were really poor. I only seen one game. That can be psychologically grueling. They finish with more points than Bruges, you know that?
Yeah.
But the playoff system over there is a bit whack. And I don't think it would be the worst. I think for me, that's where my focus is going to be next year, the Belgian league.
Yeah, you've been building quite nicely around that Anderlecht stack, haven't you? So naturally, I think you're going to be looking at Belgium. I saw Bruges signed a young lad from Barcelona. I think he'll be a massive pickup. I imagine there'll be a lot of people waiting for those cards. I had a little look at at his highlight reel. He looks a good player. Like he's going to tear that division up. I think. What do you reckon?
Yeah. He's somebody I caught the rumours for him like a few weeks ago that he was going to be leaving. I've never heard of him before, but people were talking about Jutgla and Barca B is on the move and all that. And I, like yourself, I went and looked into him, and it's like, yeah, if a challenger team gets a guy like this, he could be like deadly. Yeah. I don't know if you remember when like Salzburg first got a bunch of money, or they first like got into Europe and stuff. They had a Spanish guy up front. I want to say his name was Soriano. I can't remember his name. But that was
Jonathan Soriano.
Yeah, I think that might have been it. Jonathan Soriano, that rings a bell. And for Salzburg, this is like 10 years ago or whatever, but he was scoring like 40 goals a season. And when I looked into this guy, that was the kind of he played Celtic as well. It was a long time ago. He scored a free kick against us, I think. And would you cry when I seen his highlights? That was the feedback I got. It was like maybe like a really good Spanish guy, and if he goes into like a challenger league, he could be like a bully, you know. So him going to Bruges, maybe it replaced Dost or Lang. I'm not too sure how. You know, maybe De Ketelaere is going to leave as well. Who knows what's happening at Bruges? But I think he could be a great challenger striker when he gets a card. But it won't be a secret, unfortunately.
I've got a couple of those like Barcelona B like punts, if you like. I had the Case Ruiz Atil from a while back who went back from PSG. So around that time that like what people like to refer to as the Gary V boom, I was trying to shift him. I was like, everyone was just trying to buy every 17-year-old on the platform around then, and I had him. And I was trying to shift him, then had no joy. Then he went back to Barcelona, and he was, sent to the B team. And he did okay there, but now he's been released, and it's like you start to wonder, like, is there something up with like this kid? He's supposed to have all the talent in the world, but to get released from his contract by Barcelona is not a great look. So he's got a nice little red cross next to him at the moment, waiting to see what happens there. But another one I picked up.
To be honest,
sorry,
if you go out on loan and do it, and then go back and they send you back to the B team, you could end up disheartened, out of form, gutted, lose interest. That only takes a team to snap them back.
Yeah,
right back into it. I know myself. I've been out on loan, came back. We were, for instance, at Celtic. I went out on loan, scored 10 goals, 9 goals, 10 goals at Leicester in maybe 20 games. Came back, and then I was running around the pitch when they were playing 11v11, and I was thinking, like, if I'd stayed there that year, I'd have probably been up and down, and I've got boys playing in front of me that weren't as good, that were maybe younger than me, but I think they wanted to sell me that, so I knew that was kind of, I never really get too disheartened with it, but that can happen in football, and then you end up somewhere you don't like, your heart's not in it. Like, maybe he gets a move and becomes a, so you need to send me a monster, and I'll have a look at that. Maybe you get a move and
hopefully
a monster, because
I picked up another one.
If you leave,
there was another lad there as well called Fabio Blanco, and he's a Spanish, like I think he's under 19 or something like that. And they sold him, or he was actually, I think he was with Valencia, and then they sold him to Frankfurt. But then Barcelona bought him from Frankfurt and put him in the B team, and he's been absolutely tearing it up. Like, there's been a lot of talk, like he got mentioned from Xavi in like press conferences, and there's a lot of buzz about him at like the club. There was rumours he might get moved up into the first team this season, but I'm seeing he's being linked to, what's the team that's come up into La Liga? Quinny, do you remember the name of them? Is it Almeria or something like that?
No,
Might be
it could be Almeria. Yeah,
I've seen he's
I've not
been
checked the
linked
figure,
there
to be
because
honest.
apparently that was like his boyhood club. That was the academy he came up through before, like he went to Valencia or wherever it was, and so that kind of makes sense. When I read that, I was like, nice. I already hold him, almost like to just hold him, thinking from what I've seen of him, he looks a player, and it's a rookie card, and there's not much of him. So I went out and got him a
What's his
couple
name?
months ago. On the platform, his name's Fabio Gomez, but he's more commonly referred to as Fabio Blanco. If you search him online, they're good ones as well. If you can find those little nuggets on Sorare where their name isn't what it actually is, that was Jota, wasn't it? Because Jota was
Yeah.
that, he was something else. Because I remember I had him on, I was following him at Benfica. What was his name as a Benfica player on the platform?
João Felipe.
There you go. So when I
Yeah.
I missed the notifications pop up when he made that move, and I wish I'd just bought him, because at the time I looked at it, I thought, oh, I've missed the kind of the good prices on him. But now, compared to what you picking a Jota up for, would have been an absolute steal. But yeah, if you can find those little ones on the platform where like they've not got the name that people know them by, then people are searching for them on Sorare and not finding them. And he was one of them. But I think
Do you?
I'll be interested. I'm really hoping he does go to Almeria and get some game time, because from the videos you can watch of him online, the way he
Do you
carries the
put
ball.
Jota in the under 23 rules squad?
Yeah, this is what I'm thinking. Like, might actually get some use out of him if he goes there and becomes a starter, even in a league like that. If he's winning, if he's making lots of dribbles, particularly, and like final third passes as a forward, he's a forward card as well. But he kind of plays like
Right.
one of those like cavalier midfielder, like Steven Gerrard type, runs with the ball, proper goes through people, wins the ball back, can shoot from distance. Like, it looks like an SO5. There's some potential there. So kind of hoping. This is the exciting part of the season, really, when it comes to like waiting. Like, you've got those players, you just need them to get that move. I've got so many of those at the minute, and
Yeah.
a few that I'm waiting to see. Like, are there any players in your galleries at the moment that you're really hoping for a move?
I've got a wee list up on my board. I think probably Dennis Suarez is probably, then Taylor Harwood-Bellis are the two big question marks for me. Because Harwood-Bellis, if he goes back to the Championship as a U23 defender, he could be epic. He's also linked to Celtic, that would be even better.
I saw him
He
linked to
did alright with
Burnley.
Stoke last year.
He's linked to Burnley as well, apparently.
Yeah, it was company that took him to Anderlecht, so it's kind of plausible. I was saying to some Celtic, I was saying in a Celtic thread somewhere on the internet, like, company brought him in on loan, and they also signed Wesley Hoyt, or whatever you call him, and they already had another centre back in the club already. I can't remember what one it is, maybe Magellan or
not Lacroix
or Lacroix or something. Yeah. Or somebody like Magellan or Murillo, or I can't remember who the centre back is now at Anderlecht, but they had somebody else. They signed Hoyt, they signed Taylor Harwood-Bellis. Harwood-Bellis played a lot, and then the word was around October, November, was like company said, I'm not guaranteeing you minutes anymore because I need to play the guys that are here.
Yeah.
Wesley's this transfer, this guy, blah, blah, blah. And so I was saying to Celtic fans, is like, if you're him, and you've been taken to Belgium, then kicked out the street after 3 months, and then you're getting the offer of come to Celtic, play Champions League and maybe win the league, or probably win the league, or go play Championship, and maybe the same thing happens to you again. I know what offer I would take,
Yeah, I'm waiting to see. Like, I think I've got Muric. I think I was mentioning to you boys in the chat earlier, like in the WhatsApp group, that I'm seeing him linked to Burnley, and like for me, that'd be like the best move that I could have as a Muric holder, because I think if he stays at City, he's going to be worth a quarter of what he is now. There's other links to like Galatasaray, which I think will be equally a good move for him. but then there's a bit more of a rotation risk. Whereas if he goes to Burnley and they sell Pope, I think he's just nailed on as the number one, and he's going to get.
Who's Pope linked to?
Pope's linked to Nottingham Forest because apparently their main goalkeeper is like on the move. He wants out.
Samba. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Actually, Nottingham Forest. That's why I asked you because would you cry it? Muric was on loan at Nottingham Forest like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
So that might not be a bad shout.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a move.
I've had a look through my gallery there while you were talking. I've got some amount of people I want to get a move, and I've not even realised. I've got about 4 goalkeepers. Mikey Johnston, I'm hoping gets a move to go and play. He could be an under 23 big one from Celtic. Mitoma. Striker wise, I'm hoping Christian Ramirez for Aberdeen gets a move. I think he will. Zahavi, Daniel Sinani. I don't know if he'll play at Norwich. I'm hoping he goes. Cyril Dessers. Half my gallery is a gamble. The boy Nicholson maybe for Spartak. I think he'll maybe go. Everton. I think he could end up back in America, and if he does, I think he could be a monster card.
Aye, I agree.
Oh yeah, I've got so many in my gallery that I think like this time last season I was looking at players like Anwar El Hajj at Anderlecht, talking of like your Anderlecht stack, and like the tail end of not last season but the season before, he kind of broke into the first team, put up some really big performances, and I remember getting offers for my super rare of him, and I was like, no, I think next season is his season, his breakthrough. I'm really like excited. He's like an exciting player. He dribbles, he can score, creative, like a kind of Eden Hazard style, and then he's barely had a look in this season because they've gone like a little bit more robust across the midfield. So with the new manager coming in, it'll be interesting to see like what the kind of, I don't know, the idea there is and how they're going to play. Because I think that if they're looking to play a little bit more clever, a bit quicker, then El Hadj might become like a bit of a player there. But if they stick with like that solid, like robust midfield like they did last season, which actually worked really well for them as well. But like it'd be really interesting. But he's another one. He's almost like, I don't think he gets a move because I don't think he showed enough of himself last season. And if he does get a move, I don't think it'll be good. It'll be sent on loan somewhere that won't be as good for him. Whereas if he stays at Anderlecht, it's almost like he'll either have another season like he did last season where he's rotated heavily or barely gets to look in, or he'll become one of the main guys. And that's another thing, isn't it? It's like looking into a next season, trying to figure out what new managers are going to do. That's almost like a transfer in itself, isn't it?
Right, for sure. Speaking of big offers for Super Rare, Stish, you had a big tasty offer on the table this week, didn't you?
Mate, it was like, it was in my mind all weekend. I was like, really like took over all of my headspace. But I got an offer in for my Joey Veerman Super Rare, which is definitely the best card I own. It's one of the best cards in the platform, especially in under 23s. And a big offer, biggest offer I've ever had for it. So it was like the initial offer came in 8 ETH, and I was like, like I'm gonna think about this. It's a lot of money. I need to see like what, because U23 is like the main place that I like kind of try and win in, can't try and compete. So taking him out of that lineup, it would definitely weaken my potential to like get anywhere in those divisions based on what we've seen previously, right? Obviously coming into next season, I've definitely got a few players that could put up scores like that, but we don't know until the season starts. Whereas him, you can, in my opinion, he might kick on from last season. He might be even better. So I had to kind of weigh it up. And then I was coming back and forth with the manager, Seko, his name was, about thinking about it. And I think he was really trying to like sell the idea of selling it as well. Obviously, he wants the card.
We're not too nice on this platform. Call him out.
He's basically telling me like, I don't think your U23 team is strong enough. Like you're not really getting the utility out of him. If you sold him, you could buy this player, that player, and that player, and still have a bit of money left, which was a valid point. But at the same time, I was looking at it.
No, it wasn't a valid point because we all play the game differently. See, if I want to go and spend 70% of my gallery on a player, I'm going to go and do it, right? Or I'm not saying you're doing that. See, if my lineup's got 4 dumplings, right, and one 100 scorer every week. They dumplings could score well 1 week simultaneously,
Yeah.
and and you could win a Haaland super rare or something, and then the next time you could win, and your team could be better than his. So who's he to tell you? Who's MD to tell you what to do? People can advise you. People, if you lean on them and get information, they can tell you. But you're making money out of a game different ways. People are making money out
Yeah,
a game.
definitely.
So you're doing it.
I think so too, because he could. If you looked at the lineup that he was trying to put him in this lineup, right? The lineup was Diogo Costa in goal, which is undoubtedly the big, like, classic, safe hands U23 goalkeeper, international, all of that, right? So he had him.
Unless he moves.
He had Jurian Timber, who is, like, as it stands at Ajax and the way that they played last season, the big U23 defender. Enzo Fernandez super rare, which is, as we know, one of the
Tasty.
Might
big.
end up with Ricardo might not play.
This is it. I'm saying, like, and he was looking at that, so he had that, and then he had Mbappe rare up front. So he saw that.
We can't really say
No.
much bad about that card.
No. So he saw Joey Veerman super rare as, like, the final piece in that puzzle, and, like, on paper that would probably be the best U23 side, that like pro side that you could probably put out at this current state, in, like, you know, the way players have scored over the last maybe L15, L40. That is probably about as good as it gets.
Right.
So, but like you said, Tony, is like, for me, it's all, if you've got that team and you can go out and afford to buy that team, then by all means go out and do it, and you have to expect you're winning a tier 0 or very close every game week with a team like that. If you're not, you know, it's probably because some of the players have, like, had a dip in form or an injury or something like that. But for me, the way I play it is, I did get that Joey Veerman super rare probably early, obviously, and a lot of the cards that I do have now, I hold thinking they might be the next Joey Veerman card that someone else in a year's time is offering me 8 or 9 ETH for. So that's the way I play the game, rather than, like, having the team of right now. I'm looking always to build a team for, like, 6 months from now, and I think letting go of Joey Veerman.
If you guys to step in, 100%.
Yeah, and I think letting go of Joey Veerman, for me, like, the team that I have got, that I have already, I was looking at, like, well, where is my real weak? The only real weaknesses that I see in, like, my available selection in U23 is that fact that I didn't have, like, a nailed on keeper that has Europe. So, like, Safanov is probably, like, the best goalkeeper that I have in terms of, like, his position's safe, he's international, and, you know, he's at a half decent club in Russia. Problem is now Russia don't play in Europe, and internationally Russia are not playing. So that takes quite a lump of his, like, utility.
Here's one for you, right, without interrupting you. And this is just a question that I would ask somebody. Is it worthwhile spending 10% extra on a keeper that does play in Europe, or a card, and then taking it in your head and saying, right, I've just won 2 rewards with that midweek.
Yeah.
So then if I lose 10% on the value, I've made my money anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think that's definitely been something I've thought about, because I think with the gallery that I do have, even without, like, the Haalands or the Mbappes or, like, the Timbers, I have been able to win rewards, and I'm not 100% certain, but I'm pretty sure a lot of the rewards I have won have come in those, like, midweeks where I did have a few more players than others. So that's where maybe I overplay the whole, you need a bit of midweek utility, but I do think it helps, because there's a little bit less competition if you've got a U23 side that will all start in a midweek games. You're playing against a lot less players, if that makes sense. So I went out and bought. I decided to keep him. You know, the offer did go up to 9. I don't think Seko was too pleased with me for making that decision, but the way I see it, I've got other super rares that I can pair with Joey. I've got, like, people like Igor Daviv. I've got Kenneth Taylor, who I think is going to be a big player this season for Ajax. So I've got players that I think I can sit right next to Joey Veerman. Darwin Nunez. I think he's the sort of player, even if he does move to the Prem, like if he moves to Liverpool or Man United, he's going to be a threat if you can figure out what games he's going to play, right? If he's at Man United, I think he plays every game. If he plays for Liverpool, he might get rotated out of certain games before Champions League weeks. That kind of thing. But it's like the way I thought about it, and I thought if I keep that Joey Veerman, he might earn me 8 ETH over the course of the season. You know, if I take him out,
I agree.
Yeah, I
Is it,
think he scores a better Liverpool.
he's such a differential Vicard, Joey Veerman, you know, like because I think when you look at the under 23 purge that we'll have this year, you know,
yeah,
the amount of guys that lose status, the big hitters in midfield, there's like so little guys left over this year from this year who you can look and go, oh, that guy did really
yeah,
well. You know, Veerman is by far and away like the top of the food chain at the moment. So
I'm going to go
I
and
think
have a
you'll
look
get
at
plenty
him,
more
actually.
offers for that SR, buddy.
yeah.
I don't think you'll be
It's,
shy of
it
suitors.
definitely just didn't feel like the right time. Like if I'm gonna sell him, I still feel like if I wanted to sell him, if I waited another like 4 or 5 weeks, the price could go up again from now. Like, you know, unless he gets like some kind of injury or something like that pre-season, which would be crazy. But I just didn't feel right. I thought about it. It was so much money. Yes, I could have probably rebuilt and restructured, but I went out and bought Maduka Okoye, hoping that he'll be the number one at Watford. And I think that's a slightly stronger goalkeeper than Safanov. But I'll
Yeah.
still use Safanov, you know, like in the rare division or in Challenger or something like that. So I think if Okoye goes to Watford and becomes number one, which we're all expecting, you know, he's going to get 40 plus fixtures a season, which is more than a lot of like, you know, average European sides will get playing in like the Conference League. So that was like
For sure.
there, and I'm still potentially in the market for maybe another defender, super rare, just to bolster those options. Because last season I had like Van Heck, and I had De Vive, and a few others that weren't as like reliable. But I'm not sure what happens to Van Heck this season. I think he might stay at Brighton and be like rotated, like might be used occasionally in the cup. Not sure they'll loan him out again, so he's a little bit of a risk. And yeah, that just kind of leaves a lot of it puts a lot of pressure on De Vive to like hit the big numbers again. But De Vive's a good card to have. I'll
He
hold
was
on to that one.
brilliant, though, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Davies was brilliant last season, no?
yeah, he was. He's capable of putting up big scores. You know, he scores the odd goal as well, which is always nice for a defender. So yeah, I don't think I'll be looking
Yeah,
at.
he's all good.
There's not much that I could do in terms of like upgrading that card. I think unless you want to pay for like I think like Umar Solé at Salzburg potentially when he hits top form is like a massive scorer. But you know, Salzburg are going to lose a lot of players this season. We don't even know how good they'll be next season. That's another thing.
Yeah. Aronson and Christensen have both left already.
Yep. And there's talk of
For Leeds.
Sywald leaving, Okafor. There's quite a lot of players that could still leave. They could have a whole new like core to their team next season. And they still got to keep hold of Sucic as well. I've got him. He could be a big card if he stays there next season. He's a worrying one. If he does if he moves to a Liverpool or something like that, like he's been linked, that he could be nerfed because he's not going to see much game time at Liverpool, I don't think.
Yeah. Becomes Minamino of the midfield,
Yeah.
doesn't he?
Yeah, and I got a Minamino as well. I don't need another one.
Minamino could be a great pickup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll get a move and he's a good goal scorer.
I'm hoping that.
Aye, they want him out, I think. Because I think the whole thing with Minamino was that he had some sort of ridiculously low buyout clause from Salzburg, eh? So Liverpool basically picked their pocket on him. So I think at this point they just want to flip him, make a few coins, and go buy another card.
Yeah. I think he's a good player.
He's,
I like Minamino.
Yeah, it's tidy. It gets into Japan's best 11 at the moment, him and Kamada, you know, so like Kamada's on the move as well this summer, apparently. So
Minamino's Japan's main man, is he not?
yeah.
Yeah.
He's definitely like
I think
the top dog at the
looking
moment.
at like when they had those sort of heavy like World Cup qualifications in those early rounds in the kind of Asia area or divisions, whatever you call it, when they were playing against the lesser opposition and beating them like 10-0, Minamino was just like printing hundreds of fun. And that was like, I need that card for those game weeks where. So I had him on my like shopping list, and the reason I ended up getting him was he was part of a bundle that had 3 super rares in it, plus him and who's the other one? Jota, I think it was. I bought a couple of Liverpool bundles around that time, but this one had Nat Phillips, Reece Williams, and Divock Origi Super Res, plus Minamino, and I want to say Jota. It might have been Milner or someone else, but whatever the weather, it had 3 Super Res in it, and I thought all of those players will leave this season. Granted, none of them did. I think like Reece Williams went out on loan, which was absolutely like awful for him. Nat Phillips was left on the bench until January, and then he went on loan. And Divock Origi is only now getting the move that I thought he would have got this time last year. So I had to sit on those, but they'll come good. I had an offer on my Origi this week from Nanzo, but I decided to hold on to him. I think he'll be all right next season. Could be a good option.
I agree.
That's what
Renato Sanchez looks to be confirmed to AC Milan as well. I just sold my Renato Sanchez like a day before that. It's been kind of rumoured for ages, you know. But I think he could be really good. See, one transfer, just when you're talking there, Stish, about transfer, see one guy that is on the move this summer that I think could be, like, depends on where he goes, right? But it could be a real sneaky one for next year for SO5 is Isco of Real Madrid.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like almost certainly leaving. And like, if he goes to, if you look at how good like Sergio Canales is, Sergio Canales was very similar to Isco, like young up and coming guy, goes to Real Madrid, barely plays, leaves, and then like Canales' scores are pretty decent. He's not amazing, but he's decent enough. I think Isco's better.
Yeah.
But if he goes to like a decent La Liga team, maybe like a Newcastle type mob or something like that, where they need like a main guy creator. If he goes to a team where he can be the main guy, or even some sort of dream where he goes to America and shows Carlos Heel who's boss, maybe, you know. But I think
he'll slap you about.
yeah, he's got the profile, you know. He's got everything about him. Man City, I don't think will be after him, but Man City were after him for years, you know. Like, so I still think he's got good legs in him in terms of like.
Could it be the next Thiago?
Yeah, maybe. I could maybe do a Thiago job for somebody.
I wonder if
sure.
like when you talk about like a Newcastle, I don't know why, but Sociedad came into mind. Like almost like a replacement for like that David Silva's what, 37, 38 now?
Yeah.
Something.
Oh, do you know what, by the way, do you know who Sociedad have just signed?
No.
Dominic Szoboszlai.
Oh, really?
Yeah, last week or something. So that's a U23 powerhouse midfielder.
Wow.
For next year, because he was
he Leipzig or Salzburg?
Aye, Salzburg, then Leipzig.
There you go, both.
Now he's been kicked out.
He's a good player. I saw a bit of him in the week in the internationals. He played. He scored a goal. Looked good.
I've not seen too much of him. Right, he's clearly got like incredible power in the shot and all that. He's got good vision. But see, whenever I've watched him for Leipzig, like he is just it feels like he's just a wee bit behind the game.
Yeah.
It's, you know, like maybe a second or two behind like the action. You know, like if somebody's like Kunku's breaking through and you're looking for the square ball, he's maybe like 3 yards out of position. He's trying to keep up with the play, but he's just not quite read it or quick enough or blah blah whatever. But I think he's like, if you can put him in the middle of a team and let him hit free kicks, let him take shots, let him be the main guy, he doesn't need to like, you know, orchestrate with other people. I think he could be lethal, man.
I wonder if that opens the door for Isaac to leave. Or do you think?
I think maybe, you know, that it kind of fits in with Isaac in their plans, because I don't think anyone's really coming after Isaac this year, because he started good, kind of faded away, and I don't really hear anyone talking about him anymore.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
He's maybe coming in to bolster up that profile of the team, you know.
Yeah. So, Tony, I saw obviously you put out a little tweet earlier about like some things that people might want to talk about, and one of your followers got back and said that they had 1 ETH to spend on 2 goalkeepers. Had either you or Quinny had a minute to think about if you had an ETH to spend on 2 goalkeepers, who you'd pick up?
I think Quinny's got a good 2. He never told us the name, but he seems confident enough.
Aye, well, we popped into the chat, and like with these types of things, like I said to you guys before we came on, like the first thing I'll do is I'll look at my goalkeepers and I'll see like, do I think any of them are actually still like, could I recommend them as good value sort of thing?
Yeah.
So, kind of shopped it in a little bit if you like, but for 1 ETH, if you're looking for a Champ Euro goalkeeper and a Challenger keeper, for Champ, like I find it really difficult to look past David Sorare. I've got the guy in Super Rare and Unlimited. Getafe next year. Getafe are actually weirdly linked to Bale this morning. I don't know if you've seen this, but the Getafe president's on Twitter today saying 45 minutes ago we've been offered Gareth Bale. We're away to talk about it. You know, it's literally like the quote on Twitter this morning. This is Wednesday, the 8th of June, for anyone listening.
That's crazy.
So But this guy Sorare, he's ex like Real Madrid academy. I think he went to England for a bit, didn't really break through. But like 3 out of the last 4 seasons or something like that, he's been top 3 goalkeepers in the division. He's under 30, very, very good goalkeeper. And now he trades for under 0.7. And no European football, no midweek utility, but is number one, will be number one, and like he's got a good profile and a good age. And then with the change, if you can, I don't know, it maybe goes a little bit over the ETH mark, these two guys together, but the other guy would be Bayazit, who's also
Yep.
U23. I had that, most of the people who watch my content will probably know that I had a Lung and Bayazit, both in the rare. Lung's contract is expired, he's left. Bayazit is a dual national, Turkish and Dutch, so he can qualify as being a Turkish player for their like squad, like roster things, and foreign players and local players and whatever. Played last year, the fans loved him. I think there's another goalkeeper in the mix, but I think by all accounts, Bayazit is on for being number one, and with him being U23.
Do you know enough about? Is it Konyaspor? He's at? No,
Yeah.
Kayseri Spor. Yeah. So do you think, have you seen enough of Bayazit to know that he's likely to be number one? Because I was looking at him last season, and like I always like an under 23 keeper, but especially a challenger one. Just one of those ones because I got good challenger, good U23. It's nice to have those cards that can work in both. And Bayazit, looking at him now on the, he's 0.36, which is actually really good for even for like a non U23 goalkeeper. Do you see him starting next season?
I think it's pointing in the direction that he does, yeah. I see there's another goalkeeper floating about, but so the way their goalkeeper situation went last year was Lung was the number one guy, played all the time, all the rest of it. He got like COVID or something, and then Bayazit came in and like was the cup hero, and then they went on some really good results after being in some sticky form right before that guy got COVID. And by all accounts, I think the fans loved him and everything. He then gets COVID.
Yeah.
Goalkeeper number 3 comes in for a couple of games. Goalkeeper number 1 then comes back. And then at the very end of the season, the last 3 games, I'd get different goalkeeper played every game or something. And then Long's now left his contract expiry. Bayazit's still there. And then the other guy, who I forget who even is, he's still there as well. But Bayazit, by all accounts, should be the man.
I like those odds. I think you talked through that pretty nicely. I didn't realise that Lung had left, but that does leave a little bit more. Makes me think I might pick one of these up right now, to be honest, because I'm a bit light on a challenger keeper for next season, and having that U23 as a bonus, that's a good shout.
Right,
I
now,
like that.
before you push any buttons or anything, let me just double check.
Not
Let me
financial
just double
advice.
check Silvio Long. Silvio Long. Let me just double check, right? Because I've got both of them, right? Which is why I just want to double check I've not remembered anything wrong. But yeah, Silvio Long contract expires 30th of June 2022. Yep, that's it. He's out of contract. They're not extending. That's like known that he's not getting extended, and it is. I've just double confirmed it expires in like 3 weeks. So yeah, he's out of there.
Matt, I'll tell you my two right now, because lads, I'm going to need to shoot in a couple of minutes, or I'll get the death stare from the wife. My two for you would be Akinfeed. I can't see past him. It's doubled in value. And then if you really make negotiations with people and you've got exactly an ETH, you may be able to get it both. I'd go for Jardim, but he's no a. He was out the team a couple of times. I don't know if he had an injury but I think he could be not a bad one. Leo are all right. He's in the team again. He was out because of injury, so I think he's a little bit undervalued, especially with the ETH drop just now. He's about €1,000. I think he's played the last 100% of the last 15 games, so I think he could be not a bad one.
I'm just checking the prices now. So, like, I think I mentioned to you boys in the week that I was having a look at this goalkeeper, Jeffrey Delange. He is a sub goalkeeper at FC Twente, and he is apparently leaving Twente to join Go Ahead Eagles. I'm just going to see what his lowest price is for a rare. You can pick him up for 0.38, so he's not quite as cheap as a Bayazit. I think like maybe now having had that chat with you, I'd probably lean maybe more towards Bayazit, but maybe Jeffrey Delange is worth a little look. Looks like he's on his way to Go Ahead, and he should be the number one there. He's 24, so he does lose that U23 in a month or so. And the other one I like the look of is probably going to put you slightly over an ETH, but is Noppert. Andries Noppert, who left Go Ahead to sign for Heerenveen. And Heerenveen are a better team defensively. They'll be stronger next season because Boschnovic will be back fully fit. They've got like some good stacking potential there as well. There's a few good defenders at Heerenveen. So if you pick up a Noppert, you could pair him up with a defender and have a decent little defensive stack there, I think. So I think you can pick up Noppert. It says that his average price at the moment was 0.527, but the last sale was 0.615, so maybe 0.6 or thereabouts. So yeah, that brings us in at around about an ETH, doesn't it? So I'll go with those two. Right. Well, Tony, I think you should go out and enjoy the rest of your holiday, mate.
Yeah, you won't see me again. I'll get killed off.
So guys, that'll about do us for this week. Next week when we're back, Tony still owes us a forfeit from before the international window, so we'll have that cut in with the next episode, as well as lining up the next challenge. I've had a great time, guys. Thanks for getting back together with us. I look forward to catching up with you next week.
Yeah, good to see you both. And Tony, go and top up that tan, mate.
Cheers, lads. All the best.
Take care.
Take it easy, boys.